So as Mike said, I am Tom Walker. I'm the co-founder or the founder and CEO of DroneUp. I feel like it was co-founders because it was such a team that we put together. And just so you know, if any of you were curious to how the order of speakers went this morning, I was kind of confused myself until I saw who went after me and after them, and I realized that the IQ level on stage is going to continue to go up. So if my talk is awful, stand by. It will get better. I am actually very grateful and proud to be standing here talking to you today, and I want to tell you why. Recently, I was being interviewed for an upcoming event, and the gentleman asked me, he said, "What do you call people in your industry? The drone, unmanned, whatever it is." He said, "Do you call them pioneers? Do you call them visionaries?" And I thought about it for a second, and I said, "No, I call them batshit crazy." Myself included. We started a business in an industry not knowing what it was we were going to be selling to customers who, quite candidly, didn't really know what it was they were going to be buying in an environment that nobody had yet figured out how to regulate. And somebody recently corrected me on that, and they said, no, what about the weed industry? I said, no, people knew what they were selling, and they knew what they were buying. The regulation issue was the only thing left. And so, with that in mind, whether you are a one or two person drone shop trying to build recurring revenues, a global drone service provider managing an international fleet, a brave early adopter trying to figure out how to integrate drone services in to improve your value chain, or a member of academia racing to develop curriculum to ensure we have a sustainable workforce, or one of those poor souls who's tasked with trying to regulate us misfits. No matter who you are, you're on a team. That team, our team, is working to get together every day to build one of the fastest industries of our lifetime. And that's why I say I'm both grateful and proud that I've been allowed to be a member of that team. So thank you. For years, psychologists have studied the effects on young men and women when they have been forced by circumstance to assume adult responsibilities. In layman's terms, we call it growing up too fast. And a common trait among those young men and women is that they tend to be a little awkward. Psychologists explain that that's because they're having to make decisions about the future while still trying to understand the world around them. Industries also have a growing up phase that starts at introduction or birth through growth and then hopefully ultimately maturity. Less than 3 years ago, only a handful of the top companies and the top industry sectors in the world listed the integration of unmanned systems into their processes as a key initiative. Less than 3 years later, that number has increased to over half. That rapid demand for adoption has forced our industry to begin to find out ways to deliver valuable, tangible services to ensure the credibility of our industry. And it's happened quickly. Some would say before we were actually ready to deliver those services, and certainly before we had figured out the regulations. So I would argue that we've been forced to grow up so quickly that we are perhaps a bit awkward right now. But we're not the first industry to experience this, and as such, we have the opportunities to learn from the lessons of the past, and just maybe, if we work together as a team, we can get through the turbulence that we're about to enter. That's the first of several goofy puns that are on the way. A key trait of maturing industries is a shift from a vision-driven to a market-driven market. In traditionally paced markets, that transition occurs gradually and somewhat peacefully. But when it's a rapid-paced industry like ours, that transition can be fraught with turmoil and can way too often lead to the untimely demise of some of the very visionaries who sparked our industry. It is at the same time unfortunate and predictable. As new technology is adopted and growth begins, early market companies, often weighed down with significant amounts of investor debt, find that they cannot compete with their smaller, more agile competitors. Having grown faster than the market, they found it very difficult to reel in and align their business models to fit market realities. That's when we start to see heavy amounts of lobbying, heavy amounts of marketing, efforts to maintain market position and influence. Sometimes it will work, but generally it doesn't. And their exit from the market allows for the necessary shift of leadership and influence for long-term sustainable industry. Now, am I saying that companies in our industry must fail for us to be successful? My answer is direct, explicit, and absolute. Maybe. Let me be more succinct. Vision is necessary to ignite and grow any industry, and it will continue to transform ours through development of new products, expanding service application, enhancing production models, and opening new market opportunities. However, vision and hype will not sustain our industry without eventual product demand, and when that product demand occurs, it is incumbent upon us to deliver valuable products that create revenues, recurring and increasing revenues. And only then has the industry achieved market validation. Now, if you haven't liked what I've had to say so far, you're definitely not going to like what I got to say next. Product demand has been generated, and very real signs of market validation are emerging everywhere. This is incredible, and we should be talking about it. You should be going down the halls and looking at sessions, talking about how great we're doing in certain sectors and how successful we're being. The industry and advocacy groups should be promoting that, but we're not. Because these points do not always support desired narratives. And these narratives are way too often the soapbox foundation of the very folks that we've entrusted to promote our industry. As you may imagine, I'm involved in dozens of alliances, organizations, committees, roundtables, turntables. There's something for everybody, right? And all of which are committed in one way or the other to promoting the UAS industry. This year alone, I've received over 7,000 emails covering every imaginable topic: BVLOS, large UAS, UPP, IPP, WTF, but always membership dues. They never miss those. The fonts and the words are slightly different, but the message is always consistent. Help us influence policy to facilitate adoption of drone technology. Help us shape a regulatory environment that will pave the way for industry emergence and growth. The implication is subtle. Only through continued efforts to guide policies and regulation will our industry ever really get off the ground. Sometimes the message is not so subtle. Now, I'm talking to only one person in the room right now. I know you're here. I'm not going to call you out. I did not know the person that wrote this was going to be here this morning until I came on stage. In one of the email correspondence that was going back between the groups, the question was presented: should we reallocate some of our resources and some of our efforts to promoting the commercial success of the companies in our region? And what you see was the response. And if you can't read it, I'll read it for you. It said, "I agree this is worth discussing, but nobody's making any money, and anything to suggest otherwise could jeopardize our funding." That group is committed to promoting the success of our industry. But why let facts get in the way of a good narrative? I'm going to share some data with you about DroneUp. I don't like to spend a lot of time talking about me, and I don't like to waste your time standing up here talking about us. But here's what I will tell you. Over the past 12 months, our inbound inquiries for service have increased by 1,000%, while our marketing budget has remained flat. Deal size has increased by 20%. Client expectations of pricing have come into alignment, and we are controlling and raising core price to manage and control a manageable 100% month-over-month growth. Demand, performance, premiumization, commoditization. Ladies and gentlemen, we have product demand and market growth textbook without BVLOS, without counter UAS, without even a perfect traffic management system. And you know what else I didn't mention? No notable instance, not with us or our partners. People ask what we're doing special. And I'll tell you in a moment. I'm going to open the kimono and tell you our business model, exactly what we're doing, because I feel like I'm going against everybody's recommendations in doing that. I'm just kidding. This is not just DroneUp. I can name a dozen, maybe 24 other companies in our industry, with services ranging from flight operations to processing, data services, analytics, security, and more, all of whom are identifying and pursuing current market opportunities that are feasible under existing regulations. Companies who understand, like us, that the best way to ensure our industry's stability is to remain steadfastly focused on operating responsibly while providing tangible value. BVLOS, asymmetric data protocolling, AI-enabled dispatch, and the many other technologies on the roadmap will extend our capabilities and contribute to our growth and sustainability. Let me say that again. They will extend our capabilities and contribute to our industry's growth and sustainability. Companies and organizations who develop platforms and technologies to enable longer flights and heavier payloads have a valid interest in their policies that will enable the realization of their business model. And we have a commitment to continually evaluate policies that will safely provide for that. But we must invest an equal amount of time, ensuring that by doing so, we do not inadvertently cause a negative impact to the existing and growing business operations. The value of product demand and market growth I mentioned earlier is paramount to the success of our business. It shifts the conversation from what can be, what might be, what should be, to what is. It shifts the narrative of how drones are portrayed in the media and on Capitol Hill. And by doing so, it also lowers the barrier to longer range autonomous opportunities that will vastly expand what we are doing today. And from our perspective, and I think on this I speak for my partners as well, we simply ask that consideration of any policy, new policies, that could potentially impact our ability to conduct business or that of our partners be delayed just a bit, because if we're going to finish inspecting the nearly 4,000 square miles of parking lot and the roofs of over 6 million commercial buildings in the United States, the more than 600,000 bridges, the more than 120,000 acres of solar farms, the 128,000 railroad crossings, and the development of 3D models of over 130,000 schools in our country. 3D models, by the way, that are invaluable to emergency responders in emergency response situations at schools. If we're going to get all that done, in addition to all the other valuable things that we're doing for the public and private sector today, we're just going to need a little bit of time. And by the way, that little bit of stuff I just named, it's about $7 billion in industry, a revenue to our industry. $7 billion. No policy changes. And we can do it. Drones are changing the world. And the pace of that change is and will be driven little by the number of new policies are created or the number of advocacy groups are assembled. No, that real change will be the result of how quickly the market adopts our services. And nothing will promote that better than a proven record of safely delivering services that are more valuable than what is available today. Last week, Bloomberg article, headline read, "Drone bubble burst, wiping out startups and hammering VC firms." The author highlighted the unrealized expectations of our industry. He talked about these companies that had shut down after burning through millions of dollars, and then on the heels of that, we hear the news of another company in our industry that unfortunately laid off a significant number of people last week. These things, these types of news stories, these types of headlines are a bigger threat to our future in this industry than any three-letter acronym you're worried about right now. By the way, on a side note, I used to say the only people who could be wrong more than 50% of the time and keep their job were weather forecasters. I've now added analysts in our market, in our industry, to that list. I stated earlier that I would share what we were doing, and I will. People like to call it secret sauce. It's not really that secret. It's on our website. So we have amazing technologies, innovative processes, strikingly brilliant people, and an unwavering desire to succeed. And so do just about every other company in our industry, including some who have already left and some who will be leaving shortly. That's not the difference. No, the 7 differentiators that I think that we're using right now that are helping us be successful they're simple, repeatable, and most of all, they're shareable. And they get better, but I got to start with number 1, and my team who is in the room is going to laugh when I say this. We answer the phone. My group of people who work with me and support all of our efforts a bunch of them are sitting up front, and they will tell you that you would be stunned at the number of jobs that we have won this year that the comment was, "You were the only one that called me back." There's a whole lot of us in this industry for us to be the only one to call them back, but I would be willing to bet 30%. Fair enough? 30%. 2 is we undersell. We focus on 3 words with any new project. And I look at every project that's gone wrong in our industry, and I think if we'd applied these 3 words, we probably wouldn't have had those problems. And those are affordable, achievable, and actionable. We realize what we're doing is new. So it's important that if we're going to try to present or we're going to try to engage a new customer, we need to make that first engagement affordable so that they are willing to go into it with realistic expectations of what the outcome is going to be. Number 2, is it achievable? Can we do it with our people, with our pilots, with our platforms, with current regulations? But more importantly, can we do it over and over and over again to deliver consistent results? And the 3rd is it actionable? Are we actually going to get results from this that are going to deliver ROI and value to our customers? And if we can't, we walk away. And we have walked away from some very large projects that others have taken and wish they had walked away. We operate lean. Now, a lot of people say that. We have one of the most technologically advanced pilot management and deployment platforms in the industry, able to deploy and manage in one-to-one and one-to-many bidirectional communication while deploying missions and collecting the data, and we've got patents filed on it, and it is really cool. And on staff, we have a total of 0 full-time software developers. We're also formally onboarding with Lance right now. We've been lauded for our marketing and communication, for our brand. In the last 6 weeks, we've had people who've recognized us in 9 different countries. We have a continuous increase in new pilots coming on board, and I told you about our inbound sales inquiries. So we do pretty good on marketing. I'm excited that my entire marketing team is here today with us, and I'm very proud of both of them. How are we able to do that? Because number 4, we value partnerships. I've been in a lot of industries, from the military through the technology world, into this world. And I've never seen an industry that is so diametrically opposed to partnerships. It's amazing. I mean, it's stunning. We are not. In fact, I am proud of the fact that that killer technology platform that I told you about, we picked a firm that built it and has been a partner with us, and as a result have become a leader in the UAS software industry, and they're so committed to our success that their executives are also here with us today. Good partnerships. Number 5, and I wish everybody remembered this one. We care for our people, we care for our brand, we care for our industry's reputation. In that order. And people say, well, what about the clients? Well, if I'm taking care of my people, and I'm making decisions and delivering products and services that protect my brand with consideration of the impact it might have on my industry's reputation, guess what? I pretty much have to take care of my clients. Number 6, we're financially agile. We're lean. Our platform allows us to scale. VC is not a bad word, it's just not something we've done. So we've had the opportunity to allow our company to grow with the market and to the market. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, none of these are unique to our industry, Tom. Just sounds like some pretty good business advice. I agree with you. But if our industry is ever going to reach its maximum potential, we have to stop acting like drone people who are trying to build a business and start acting like business people who are trying to build an industry. There's one more differentiator, and to me, it's probably the most important. And it comes from something I wrote a long time ago while I was still in the military, had hair, and didn't look like this. And I still read it to new members of my staff when they come on every day, and it goes like this: be proud but not arrogant, confident but not cocky, and never waste your time telling somebody how you're better. Tell them how you're different. Let them decide if it's better. And it is that last part that I think should apply to our industry right now. What we're bringing to solve with our customers, what we're bringing to them is so new that even prospects that approach us sometimes approach us like you would a stranger that was unusual looking and made you a little uncomfortable. We recognize that it's new. So number 7 is that we're patient. We don't sell, we discuss. We explain the differences, we explain what drone services are. We let them make the decision of how the data that could be collected integrates into their workflows and their work processes. And once they begin to adopt and find the need and fit it into their strategy using their own approach to their own business, then all we have to do is deliver. And it turns out that that is just a little more successful than some of the other approaches that people have tried in the past. Let me close with this. It may sound like I'm being a little tough on our industry. And for that, I make no apologies. But I can assure you, there's no one in this room or out of this room that doesn't believe in this industry or love this industry more than me. But here's what I will tell you. We and we alone, we control the destiny. We control the growth rate, we control the growth pattern, we control everything. Not the FAA, not even Congress, not even our customers. Because at the end of the day, if we continue to deliver valuable, tangible solutions, the customers will continue to buy. They will continue to validate our market. They will continue to drive product demand. And the value of what we're delivering to the industry, if we're doing it safely, responsibly, legally, and our industry is willing to promote that success instead of what we're promoting now, that will have more influence on the policymakers than anything else we could do. Thank you again for the opportunity to share my thoughts, and enjoy the rest of the conference and the rest of your speakers.